Hey guys, I wanted to do, well, I'm doing laundry, but I wanted to do a sit down video today and just kind of tell you a little bit about me. Well, not necessarily me, but kind of me. You guys know that I am a mom of 4 girls, and they age ranging from 4 to 20. And what you may not know is that there's actually 5 girls. One of my girls is a twin, and that's, kind of why I wanted to do a sit down video. December is Twin to Twin Transfusion Syndrome Awareness Month, which is why I chose this month to tell you the story about the twins. And so in 2008, I found out that I was pregnant. And my current husband and I were very excited about having a baby together. And so we went to the first appointment, and they then scheduled us, me, for an ultrasound to see how far along I was. And so we were super excited. We had told everybody that we were having a baby, and everybody was happy for us, and everything was going great. So we go for the ultrasound, and we find out that we are having twins. And my poor husband almost passed out during the ultrasound because he saw the 2 babies before I did. And then when the technician said that there was 2, that confirmed it for him that he was seeing correctly, and he almost passed out. I was super excited. We had Callie with us, but she was only 5 at the time, so she really didn't understand what was going on. So we told everybody that we were having twins, and everybody was so excited. Sarah was just as excited, if not more excited, than we were, because she was having 2 babies. And what 8-year-old girl isn't happy about having 2 babies? So we were so excited. Now, because I worked as a CNA already, I knew carrying twins was difficult. I knew that I would end up being put on bed rest at some point, and my doctor and I had discussed that they were going to try to put me on bed rest starting, she told me I can probably work until 28 weeks, which was good. So it was going to put us to, I want to say the end of November. It was going to put us right around Thanksgiving that year. And so we were okay with that. So we started getting everything set up that we were going to need to have set up before I would have to go on leave from work and, possible bed rest at that point. And so we had gotten a bigger vehicle, because my vehicle was only a 5-passenger. There was no way I was fitting 4 kids at the time in the back seat of the car. They were all 2 car seats and 2 kids under 10. There was no way that was going to be a thing. So we got a new vehicle. We ended up getting a Kia Sorento minivan, and I actually like that minivan. That minivan is not your regular minivan. It was fun to drive. It was fast. Not that I recommend speeding with the kids in the car, but it was pretty zippy for a minivan. And so we got all that set up. We had gotten 2 bassinets. I already had the one crib. We were working on getting another one. We were working on getting the 2 high chairs. We were working on getting double everything. And I was trying to get everything so that I wouldn't have to worry about it when I wasn't working. With the van, what we did, because I know it seems like ridiculous, you know, you're going to go out on leave. Why are you going to purchase a new vehicle at that point? And what we did was we had gotten gap insurance on there, and the particular gap insurance that I had covered for if you were put on disability for any reason, that it would cover the payments of the vehicle while you were out. I don't know if they still offer that, but we made sure that we had that. Because we knew, again, I need that vehicle, and it was what we were needing at the time. So in September, I went for another ultrasound. And this was the ultrasound that was telling us whether the twins were boys or girls. So we went to the ultrasound and found out that they were girls. And that was when we found out some not so good news. We found out that the twins shared a placenta, which is not uncommon in twin pregnancies. But what is the uncommon is that they had the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. And what that is that the one baby gets more nutrients than the other. In retrospect, one baby pretty much gives all the nutrients to the other baby and is much smaller, doesn't really grow that well, can have a lot of organ failure going on, and so many complications. And the other twin that's receiving all the nutrients can have heart failure and all sorts of, again, other complications going on. So this became very serious. So instead of me being pulled from work at the end of November, I was pulled from work 2 months early and put on immediate bed rest. They sent me to a specialist. We were living in Connecticut, so they sent me to Yale New Haven Hospital, Children's Hospital, to see the specialist there and to get confirmation and you know, to see, you know, what more, you know, was going on with them, with the babies, because Yale New Haven Hospital had a much better ultrasound machine than my doctor's office did. So we went to Yale, and during that ultrasound, you know, they confirmed the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. They did an amniocentesis, where they take a lot of the fluid out, because that's another thing that happens is you get so much more amniotic fluid in your uterus, and it's just not good at all. So there was so much more when I was only, I want to say I was 4 months pregnant then, that there was so much fluid. I already looked like I was 9 months pregnant, but I was not. And so, and I look big when I'm pregnant anyway. It's just, when I'm pregnant, I'm the size of the Empire State Building. I'm huge. So, no. So they did the amniocentesis, and then they gave me my options at the time. And remember, this is back in 2008. Unfortunately, not that much has changed since then with this, but my options were to do amniocentesis a few days a week, or they were going to try to fly in one of two surgeons in the United States that performed a surgery that would stop the blood vessels from transferring between the two, so that both babies can get nutrients and not just one or the other. So the risk with the amnio was that I could deliver early and go into preterm labor and have to deliver super early, because every time they stick the amniocentesis needle into my uterus, it could have potentially broken my water. So the other option was to see if they could fly in one of the surgeons and do the surgery. So I was like, well, I don't want to go into preterm labor, but I want to save these babies. I want my babies. I want my girls. And so we opted to see if the surgeon could fly in. The downfall was my insurance would not cover the surgeon flying in. So there was two surgeons in the country. One was in California. The other was in itty bitty Rhode Island. I know, shocking that a surgeon, one of the two only surgeons in the country that performed that surgery, would be in little Rhode Island. But being in Connecticut, we were right next door. So my husband and I went home that night, packed a bag, and left for Rhode Island. Because they were able to schedule me an emergency appointment. So we went to Rhode Island, and when we got there, they told us, they told us our check-in time at the hospital wouldn't be until a little later because they wouldn't have a bed readily available. So my husband and I decided that we would go on, a dinner date before we got admitted to the hospital and have some good food before we had to deal with crummy hospital food, because who likes crummy hospital food? Nobody. So after dinner, we went to the hospital and got admitted and did all the admitting stuff, and I was just waiting around for the appointment the next day. Went in, they did another ultrasound. Actually, no, they didn't do an ultrasound. So the next morning I had the surgery to correct the nutrients from going from one to the other. They basically just used like a little laser and kind of stopped the blood vessels. And when I was in the recovery room, I was having a lot of trouble breathing. And they were trying to say that it was my asthma, because I do have athletic asthma. And it wasn't that. There was no way that it was that. I wasn't running around the hospital. I didn't run around the emergency room or the recovery room. So there was no way that it was that, and they weren't listening to me. And my sats kept dropping. So so another anesthesiologist that was in the recovery room came over and listened to my lungs, and he's like, no, she has fluid in her lungs. She has pulmonary edema. So they were able to get that corrected, thank God. I know when everything was going crazy in the recovery room, Mark was very nervous and was calling everybody because he was afraid that he was not only going to lose me, but he was going to lose his girls too. So after that was all said and done, when I was in the surgery, they also took more fluid out, another 2 liters again, of the amniotic fluid. So we went home. I was still on bed rest, and I want to say it was October 23rd. My water broke. Happened to be watching the news, and some lunatic guy decided he was going to steal a mail truck, and he We drove it down Interstate 95 and was sitting like right by the exit ramp where my husband had to get on the highway because he was at work. And so the guy's just sitting there shooting up the highway with a gun, obviously, in this stolen mail truck. So my water breaks. I call my husband. I'm like, hey, it's time. My water broke. Be careful. By the way, there's a lunatic shooting up the highway where you have to get on. They have it barricaded. So he called the police department and explained to them what was going on. Told them that that was his only way to get on the highway and that he was going through their barricade. And that if they wanted to give him a ticket, he told them where they could find him. And he drove through the barricade and made it to the hospital before I did, and he was further away. Go figure. I don't get it. If you're looking for a minivan that's fast, Kia Sedona, because that's what he was driving that day. He had the minivan. And found out that it's not governed, or at least it wasn't back then. So we get to the hospital and there's 2 NICU doctors, and they were telling us that there is no hope. Give up on both of them. We weren't doing that. That was not going to be an option. So, you know, we originally kicked them out of the room, and we were crying and trying to get ourselves composed. And, you know, we were talking, and we agreed that neither of us could live with ourselves if we didn't try everything to save our girls. They were there, they existed, they were our babies. So we had to try everything. So we called the doctors back in and told them that we need to do everything possible to save these girls. So that meant continuing to be on bed rest, not even being allowed to get up to go to the bathroom, being on NPO diet, which means nothing by mouth, no food, no drink, no nothing. Everything through the IV, and no feeding tube or anything. So literally nothing to eat. They began giving me steroids. They gave me the first one in the room that we were in, and then they moved us up to the I guess you would call it like a birthing suite. I don't know what they call them anymore. And over the next couple of days, they had to give me 3 doses of the steroid to try to get their lungs to get stronger, for them to be able to survive. So 3 doses of steroids it was. So later that night, after the 3rd dose of the steroids, we had discovered that I had gotten an infection, and they had to do an emergency C-section. So we went in and had the emergency C-section, and the way that they did the C-section meant that if I was to have another baby after these 2, I would not be able to have a vaginal delivery, because yes, they did the cut through the skin as a bikini cut, but the cut through my uterus they had to do up and down. And so the twins were born. Amberly was supposed to be twin A, and her sister was supposed to be twin B, but because they unfortunately delivered her sister first, her sister then became twin A. Her name is Ariana, and Ariana was born at 14 ounces, less than a pound, and Amberly was born 3 minutes later, weighing 1 pound 6 ounces. They took the girls immediately to the NICU and intubated them and started giving them steroids and everything that they needed to do to try to keep them alive. I went back up to the room to, because I was under, all the anesthesia and everything from the surgery or whatever they were giving me. And they called up to the room and had the nurses come and get us about an hour or two later, or a couple hours later, and told us that Amberly was doing okay. Ariana was not. And they had wanted us to know if they wanted them to, they switched her vent and then got her on the more powerful vent, and they were doing, I guess they could give her some kind of injection 3 times to try to get her to be more stable, and they had already given it to her twice, so they called us down there. They asked us if we wanted to have her baptized. So just in case, we baptized both girls right then and there. And they told us they would continue trying. And so we went back up to the room, and not long after, they had called us back down, telling us that, there was nothing more that they can do. So we had called our family. Our families came, and Sarah and Callie came, and so they were able to meet their sister. And Amberly, they gave us a book. The hospital gave us a book, and it feels like something spilled on it, but I highly doubt it. It's called We Were Gonna Have a Baby, but We Had an Angel Instead. And so Sarah read it to her sister and Callie, and through her tears, she was able to get through the whole book. It's supposed to help kids cope with losing a sibling. And so Mark and I were basically holding her. We let everybody else, have a turn holding her. Sarah got to hold her, Callie got to hold her. And one of my sisters took Callie in to go see Amberly because Callie was getting antsy. She was only 5. So she took her in to go see the other baby. And at that moment, Ariana passed away. And at that moment, my sister and Callie got kicked out of the NICU because Amberly's vital signs dropped so drastically that they thought we were losing her at the same time. So it was right after Ariana had passed, Amberly's vital signs went back to normal, and Amberly continued her fight. The girls wrote a letter to Santa that Christmas asking for Amberly to get bigger so she could come home, and for a stuffed animal because the hospital gave the 2 girls each a Lammy, Amberly and Ariana, a Lammy Beanie Baby. So they asked for a stuffed animal for a friend for Lammy. And then when my husband and I went to visit her at Christmas, on Christmas Day, she had gained weight. She was 3 pounds even that day. And she had gotten a visit from Santa, and there was a new kitty cat Beanie Baby in her bed with her Lammy. So we thought that was pretty amazing because we never told anybody about that letter at the hospital. We never mentioned it. And for them to bring the stuffed animal for her and just her gaining that weight, it really did make it feel like there really is, Santa's real, because, he is real. So Amberly eventually was able to come home. She got off the vent in mid-January, and she was able to come home on February 6th. She was in the NICU for over, well, October, November, December, January, February. She was in the NICU for 4 months. Just about 4 months. She was on the vent for most of that time. So it was very, very stressful time for us. She was so tiny. And then throughout, she has always had issues with her intestines, but I won't go into detail on that for her privacy. The doctors did tell us that she would have cerebral palsy due to her being so premature, that she would never walk or crawl or talk or stand or anything like that. And you've seen her in the videos. She's talking and walking and doing everything that they told her she couldn't do. She also had retinopathy of prematurity, which is a vision condition that happens in a lot of preemies that you don't normally hear about either. So that's why one of the reasons she has the really thick glasses. Obviously, I wear glasses. Most people hear about cataracts being a thing you get when you're old. In my family, we have what's called congenital cataracts, where we're born with the cloudiness over the lens of our eye. So she had that as well as the retinopathy of prematurity. So she got a double with the vision. But she is doing really well, and she is thriving, and she knows about her sister. She knows she is a twin, and even though her sister isn't here, we still consider her a twin, and we all miss her very much, and we think about her every day. And I just wanted to share this video with you to, let you guys a little more in on our family, and to let you guys know that there is this twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome out there. It affects 15% of multiple pregnancies. And by multiple pregnancies, I mean like twins, triplets. And I think that is all I have, because I'm going to end up starting to cry if I keep going. But thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you have twins, leave a comment below. Let me know. I love to live vicariously through people with twins. I love seeing pictures. Sometimes I get a little teary-eyed when they're identical twins, like my girls were. I do like to play with that mirror app sometimes, just to see, what the pictures would look like if there was two of them. But those are more for me than for anybody else. And that's about it, because I'm going to start crying. So again, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you. And thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll catch you in the next one.